Hello, everyone, and welcome to another online science lesson. My name is Teacher John, and today we are learning more about simple machines. Simple machines. So let's look at our learning goals for today. We only have one. We will be able to list the 6 simple machines. Last lesson, we learned a little bit about the simple machines. Let's have a short review. Simple machines. Simple machines make work easier. They have few or no moving parts. They can make a force stronger, or they can change the direction of the force. Okay, and remember, a force is a push or a pull. A push or a pull. Okay, so let's get started looking at the 6 simple machines. First is the wedge. The wedge. Do you recognize this shape from one of our earlier science lessons? Let me think. It looks to me like a triangular prism. Do you remember the triangular prism from our light lesson? We could shine a light through a triangular prism and a rainbow came out. Today we are learning about the wedge. What shape is the wedge? It is a triangular prism. And let's look, how do we use the wedge? Well, it changes the direction of the force. Here we have an axe. There you go, an axe. So an axe has a lever. We'll learn more about that in a second. And a wedge. We use the wedge to change the direction of the force. It's going down, and then it changes the direction going either way. This will split something in half if you want to, or even smaller pieces. Okay, so we use a wedge to change the direction of a force. The next is the inclined plane. We see, wow, this skater is using an inclined plane to go over a car. Can we see that it's changing the direction of the force? If the skater kept going straight, he would have, boom, been hit by that car. But luckily, the inclined plane was there and it changed the direction. He went up instead. If he went straight, he would get hit by the car. But it changed his direction and he went up instead. We use inclined planes because it is easier to push something than it is to lift it up all the way and carry it. Okay, so we see that this box, it's so much easier for someone to push, put some force right here, than it would be for someone to lift up the box and carry it. These are the 2 reasons why we use an inclined plane. It is easier to push something, right? And it can also just change the direction of a force. Excellent. Let's keep going. We have a screw. A screw. And let's see if we can zoom in a little bit. Here we go. We are zoomed in. A screw. What is a screw? If we look here, it is just a post and it has an inclined plane wrapped around and around and around and around and around and around. This is a screw. How do we use a screw? We use a screw to hold things in. Look at this. We are using a screw to hold in this shelf. When the screw falls out, what happens? The shelf falls down. We can use a screw to hold things in. We can screw it in. Maybe you've seen the end of a light bulb has a screw, so you can screw it into the ceiling. Or if you have a bottle, you have a bottle top. You can screw it on. All right, we use the simple machine, the screw, for many different things. Next is the pulley. We saw a pulley in our last lesson. Remember, a pulley changes the direction of the force. Look at this man. He's just pedaling his bicycle, and the pulleys are changing the direction of this force from going in a circle like this to pulling him up. Let's look at an easier diagram. Here is a man. He is pulling, pull. The force is going this way, but look, it changes the direction to lift up the box. They are calling force an effort. Look, it's a pull. The load is whatever you are pulling up or lifting up. Okay? This is the pulley. Our next simple machine is the wheel and axle. The wheel and axle. We use this when we're driving our car, when we're riding a motorcycle. We have the wheel right here and an axle. The axle is just a cylinder. Do you know the shape cylinder from math class? The axle is a cylinder that goes in the middle of the wheel. What does the wheel and axle do? It reduces friction. It reduces friction. If we want to push something, if we go back to this box, if we want to push something up an inclined plane, it's kind of hard to push it up, right? We have to push a lot of effort. That is because there is friction between the box and the inclined plane. Look, shh, it's hard. We have all this friction when we're trying to move it. What if there wasn't friction? It's so easy to push up. That's why we use the wheel and axle. If we're using a wheel, it reduces the friction. It's so much easier for a wheel to move on the ground. Look at this big wheel and axle. We call this a Ferris wheel. But look, we've got the wheel and we've got the cylinder in the middle. That is the axle. Wheel and axle is a simple machine. We use this everywhere. Our next simple machine is the lever. The lever. We use this simple machine all the time. And let's look. We have a seesaw. A seesaw. This is a lever, but to use a lever, we need a fulcrum. A fulcrum. This is called a fulcrum. Here is a fulcrum. A fulcrum is something that we can use to push the lever against. So we can push on the lever. It will use the fulcrum right here to lift up the load. Look, it changes the direction of the force. We push the force down, and what happens to the load? It goes up. What if you don't have a fulcrum? What's going to happen when you push on the lever? It will do nothing. You need this fulcrum if you want to lift something with a lever. No fulcrum, then you cannot change the direction of the force. If we want to push down, the load of the lever will go up. Remember in our last video, the man, he stood on the lever and he lifted up a car. Wow. We can use a lever to lift heavy things. Cool. All right. So let's go over our learning goal for today. Our learning goal was we will be able to list the 6 simple machines. So let's go back all the way to the beginning. Our first simple machine, number 1, was the wedge. Look, it can change the direction of a force. Our second simple machine was the inclined plane, right? It can change the direction of a force too. It's easier to push something than it is to lift it up. That is why we use an inclined plane, so we can push something up. It changes the direction of the force. Our third simple machine is the screw. Remember, the screw is just an inclined plane wrapped around a post. We use the screw to hold things together. Look at that screw. It fell out and the shelf fell down. Our fourth simple machine was the pulley. We use the pulley to change the direction of a force. We can pull things up, right? We saw a pulley in our last video. Our fifth simple machine is the wheel and axle. We use the wheel and axle for so many things. Cars, motorcycles. We have the Ferris wheel now. Okay? The wheel and axle reduces friction. This is friction. Oh, it's so hard to move. If you have wheels, it reduces friction, and now it's nice and easy to move. It takes a lot less force to move something that is on a wheel and axle. Wheel and axle, that is our fifth simple machine. And the lever is our sixth simple machine. We can use a lever to lift heavy things. The lever changes the direction of the force. If we push down, then it will lift up the load. We will see more about the lever and using simple machines in our next lesson. Okay, so we definitely accomplished our 6 learning goals today. We have a quiz on crewjohn.com about simple machines. Our next lesson is going to be a project where we use simple machines. All right, so get excited about that, and I will see you in our next lesson. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.